All right, let's dive into something pretty wild today. We're going to talk about a man named Ray Kurzweil. He's one of the most brilliant and, most controversial inventors out there. And his vision for our future is, well, it's radical. He thinks technology isn't just going to make our lives better. He thinks it's going to help us literally cheat death. I mean, really think about that for a second. What if we could live forever? It's a question humanity has been asking since the beginning of time. But what if the answer isn't in some fantasy story or fountain of youth, but in code and circuits? For futurists like Ray Kurzweil, this isn't science fiction. It's just a really hard engineering problem that's waiting to be solved.
So to really get where Kurzweil is coming from, we have to rewind a bit. Because this dream of overcoming aging, of living forever, it's not new, not at all. It's been with us for thousands of years.
I mean, you can find this quest pretty much everywhere in history. Think about the ancient Chinese emperors who would send entire fleets of ships out to find a mythical pearl that could supposedly grant eternal youth. This desire to beat our own biological clock is a fundamental part of the human story.
Okay, so let's fast forward to the modern day and meet the man at the center of this whole thing, Ray Kurzweil. He's the guy who believes he's found the key to that ancient dream, not in some magic pearl, but in silicon. Now, before you write him off as just some futurist with wild ideas, you have to understand, this guy is a legitimate genius inventor. His whole career has been about teaching computers to recognize patterns. He created the first machine that could read any font, the first text-to-speech synthesizer for the blind. He even built a synthesizer that could replicate the sound of a grand piano so perfectly that it blew Stevie Wonder's mind. And this obsession with decoding patterns is key, because he figured if we can decode text and sound, why can't we decode the ultimate pattern, the software of our own biology?
And look, this isn't just me saying it. Inc. magazine literally called him Edison's rightful heir. He got the National Medal of Technology from President Clinton. He's in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. So yeah, when a guy like this starts making predictions, people tend to pay attention.
So, how in the world does someone go from building reading machines to predicting human immortality? Well, it all starts with his core idea about how progress itself actually works.
Okay, this is super important. Kurzweil's entire argument hinges on this concept he calls the law of accelerating returns. He says that technology doesn't just move forward in a straight, steady line. Nope, it's exponential. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. It doesn't just get bigger, it gets bigger, faster, and faster. Every new technology makes it possible to create the next technology even more quickly.
And you've seen this in your own lifetime, right? Think about it. In the 90s, just getting on the internet was a big deal. Then, a decade later, boom. Scientists finished mapping the entire human genome. A decade after that, AI is beating the world's best players in super complex games, but it's still kind of a lab experiment. And now, just a few years later, generative AI is something you can use on your phone. The time between these massive leaps just keeps getting shorter and shorter. That is exactly what Kurzweil is talking about. And according to Kurzweil, this insane, upward curving line of progress is racing toward one single, mind-bending event he calls the singularity. So what is the singularity? It's basically the point of no return. It's the moment when artificial intelligence becomes smarter than all of humanity combined, leading to a technological explosion that is so rapid and profound that it's irreversible. He even puts a date on it. He predicts that by 2029, an AI will pass the Turing test, meaning you literally won't be able to tell if you're talking to a human or a machine. After that happens, well, all bets are off.
Now I know this all might be sounding like it's straight out of a movie, but Kurzweil's ideas actually connect directly to a very real and very fast-moving field of science that's trying to answer a simple question. Why do we get old?
Yeah, there's a whole field for this. It's called biogerontology. And these are the scientists on the front lines, digging into the nitty-gritty of why our bodies break down over time. They're looking at our cells, our DNA, the actual biological code that makes us age.
So here's a super simplified look at just one of the reasons we age. You know the little plastic tips on your shoelaces? Well, your chromosomes have something kinda like that, called telomeres. And every single time one of your cells divides to make a new cell, those little caps get a tiny bit shorter. Eventually, they get too short, and the cell just stops working properly. It enters this senescent state, stops dividing, and just hangs around causing inflammation and damage. That process, happening over and over, is a big part of what we actually experience as aging. And this is where Kurzweil's whole vision snaps back into focus. He believes that the same exponential progress we've seen in computer chips is going to happen in biotechnology. He envisions a future with millions millions of tiny nanobots. I'm talking robots the size of a blood cell, flowing through our bodies, repairing our DNA, destroying cancer cells, and fixing that telomere damage right at the source.
Naturally, when you're talking about ideas this big, this world-changing, they don't go unchallenged. And the debate around Kurzweil's predictions has and still is incredibly intense.
You've got some of the biggest names in tech on both sides of the aisle. On one hand, you have people like Bill Gates praising his uncanny ability to predict the future of AI. But on the other hand, you have deep, serious concerns from figures like Bill Joy, the co-founder of Sun Microsystems, who's worried these same technologies could lead to a total dystopia. And then, of course, you have the scientific skeptics, like physicist Theodore Modis, who argue his predictions are more like faith than fact, that they lack real scientific rigor.
And maybe one of the sharpest critiques came from Mitch Kapor, the founder of Lotus. He called the whole singularity movement intelligent design for the IQ 140 people. He's basically saying that this isn't really science. It's a kind of technological religion, a belief system for smart people who are looking for a way to believe in transcendence.
And the reason this debate gets so heated is because the stakes could not possibly be higher. Kurzweil isn't just talking about us living longer. He's talking about fundamentally changing what it means to be a human being. He predicts we will literally merge with our technology, becoming a hybrid of flesh and machine. And that really brings us to the final, crucial question. If Kurzweil's vision comes true, and we start enhancing our minds and bodies beyond all recognition, what's left of the humanity we know today? What happens to our identity, our purpose, our soul? That's something to think about.